Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we are once again discussing the future of Xbox, and Jim Ryan makes some bold claims about the PS5.
Well, Daniel, I swear we don't try to set out and talk about Xbox on all our podcasts.
You're right. We don't, but I do.
Yeah. But this is a news podcast where we go back and we look at the last weeks of news and gaming and we recap it for you.
Yep.
And we can't help what the news is.
We can't. We don't write the news. We don't fabricate the news. We just spin it to our own devices.
Well, some would argue that we do. And we got a lot of stuff coming. Interestingly, this week, the big stories both came from the heads of Xbox and PlayStation. One, Jim Ryan, who is leaving or has maybe left. I think he's now gone.
Is he now gone? I thought he was leaving on the late this month or maybe next month. Anyway, he's out soon if he ain't gone.
Right. And so they did a podcast with Jim Ryan, and we'll talk about that. Phil Spencer did a lot of interview type deals where he said they're just talking a bunch of skibbity guys.
I'm telling you what, straight cap for real, for real.
Yeah.
And that's a teaser because we're going to talk about Gen Z.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about all that different stuff. I think there's some really exciting stuff coming out of both Xbox and the PlayStation stuff. It's interesting.
Sure.
But it's both a good and bad time to be an Xbox supporter. And we'll get into all of that. Is there anything else you want to go over before we get into the first big topic?
Randy, I think it's just time to start ripping Band-Aids off left and right here.
Well, actually, this first topic here is one that the most exciting topic for me that came up this week was that Phil Spencer kind of talked about the possibility of Xbox putting together a handheld.
Yep.
And I've said for a long time that I think Xbox would be really wise to put together a handheld because I think that might actually be good for them.
Sure. I mean, handhelds are hot. Handheld PCs are hot. I mean, Xbox is a Microsoft company. I mean, maybe it's only a hop, skip, and a jump from one of those handheld PCs. I don't know. You be the judge. But I do think that Xbox would probably actually be making a decent move here.
I do too. The question is, would this be this theoretical handheld coming from Xbox? Would it be an Xbox or would it be a handheld PC that is just branded as Xbox?
What's the difference?
Well, I think that there's one is an operating system.
Okay. Sure.
I
don't think it's going to run Windows either way, if that's what you're at. I don't think it's going to be like a stock Windows experience, if that's what you were getting.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay,
yes.
No, not a chance in hell.
Really?
No.
So maybe it runs Windows, but it kind of like say the Steam Deck runs Linux, but it has a Steam OS.
Yeah.
Maybe this runs Windows, but it has an Xbox OS.
I would say that's probably what would happen. I mean, they're a Windows company. They're probably going to be built off Windows. But whereas the Steam Deck runs that Steam OS front end and you can boot over into desktop mode, I don't think this would let you do that. That's my prediction. My prediction is you would be locked into game mode, essentially.
Well, that very well could be the case. But there's some interesting stuff that Phil Spencer said that makes me think that maybe that isn't the case. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, I see here we got a poll. It says, would you be interested in buying a handheld/hybrid Xbox console?
At 2.1 thousand votes, 26% said yes, 56% said no, and 18% said, I am just not sure.
Yeah, maybe depending on, what exactly it is. Not sure. Maybe have to see what it actually is first. But the fact that 26% of people said yes, now that seems like a low number. But actually, I think when you put it in the frame of this is Xbox we're talking about.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. If you just ask people, are you interested in buying an Xbox? I think it'd been less than 26%.
Yes.
But since it's an Xbox handheld and they got a little bump, Phil.
Yeah.
I hope you're watching.
Yeah, I actually think that that's pretty exciting, actually. And I would be very interested to see Xbox get into the handheld game in terms of what they could offer, because I think there's some interesting things they could do. Think about this. One thing that's been thrown around a lot is what if they take the Xbox Series S and they just handheldize it? Kind of like...
The term is handheldify.
Handheldify. That's what I was looking for.
Handheldify. I don't know if the technology is quite there to handheldify. a Series S, and it be portable and power efficient.
I don't think we're too far off, to be honest with you.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, where does a Series S stack up against something like a PS4?
It's more than a PS4.
Right. So the Steam Deck is about a PS4. So these like Lenovo Legion Go's and ROG Allies and stuff like that, like they're a little past that. Not a whole lot, but a little. Maybe they could do it. I think where they would run into issues is the battery.
I'm looking at this in terms of next gen. In my mind.
For
this
their
is
next
generation.
Ah.
They have something that comes out and it's like a lower spec product. It's essentially an Xbox Series S. It's like last gen, but it's completely native handheld.
I would say that's probably doable. Yeah, by next gen, that should be doable. Yeah.
And
battery technology does move slow. But
the battery would definitely be the sticking point, probably.
100%. Yeah. You might, it might be a little bit of an outlet hog, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But not Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer, in these interviews, he was saying like, I've played these other PC handhelds and there's some things I want to tweak. There's some things I want to improve. And before we get to that, I got a comment here from CRA Gamer who said, Xbox has nothing to offer that a Steam Deck or any other handheld PC can't. In fact, it'd most likely be more restrictive than any of those are due to being proprietary. What do you think about that, Randy?
Let me read this over again. Steam. And mostly be more restrictive, being proprietary. You're saying like Xbox, because it's closed ecosystem.
Because it's a console.
Yes.
Essentially.
Okay, right. Whereas the Steam Deck at least has the option to go into like Linux, and you're not stuck on Steam the same way you'd be stuck on the Xbox store.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what they're saying.
Yeah. I think so.
Yes, I do think that is an interesting thing, but here's what Phil Spencer's been saying is that he wants there to be other things. He's thrown around the idea in these interviews of, well, what if Epic comes to Xbox? Like, he has no problem with it, which seems weird to me. Is like,
does it?
It seems very strange to me. I get it at the same time. Like when you go on a Windows device, you don't have to buy from the Xbox store.
Nope.
You can boot up Steam. You can boot up Epic Games. You can use whatever your heart, desires. You can go in there and buy games any way you want. And it seems to me that he is wanting to make Xbox like everything, And this has been something we've seen. The running narrative from Xbox is that they want everything to be an Xbox. They want your phone. They want your computer. They want your Xbox. They want everything to be considered your Xbox device.
Right. And, maybe we should kind of cross topics here because it sounds like we're kind of double dipping here into this idea of Spencer doing this Gen Z research. That's kind of the idea that you just brought up, Gen Z, the youth, if you will. They got their Tic Tacs on everything, They got their Instas on everything. They got their crap chats on everything. They got it on their Androids. They got it on their iPhones. Spencer kind of wants the Xbox to be that.
Right.
And I just wonder why.
To me, it's interesting that he's saying like, we got to look at what the young kids are coming into because things are changing and what they want is changing. Are the young folks as interested in the console wars? Do they care about the console wars the same way that maybe our generation was really invested into that? Maybe they don't. Maybe they're more frustrated by the console wars and they don't care about it.
I think that's probably accurate. I mean, I teach these Gen Z youths, and I don't hear them. I don't hear a lot of hate between the PlayStation and the Xbox kids, but I do occasionally hear like they'll ask me, they'll say, "Hey, can I play this game?" They've asked me like, "Is this game cross-platform?" Essentially, like, "Oh, this game's coming out. Can I play it with my friends on Xbox?" So they are thinking about that, and if the answer is no, they don't react great.
Yeah, I mean, like say like Helldivers, for example.
Sure, Helldivers is exactly.
Right, that's been one that's come up recently. It is cross-platform only between PC and the PS5.
Right.
But right now you can't play it on Xbox. I think that if Phil Spencer had his way, you would be able to play that on Xbox via it basically becoming a computer. I do think that's an interesting thing. I don't know how it works because I think there are some like licensing things that go on with having like these certain devices. Like, I don't know. I know that you have to have certain like cuts go to different people. And when you start mixing different stores, things get really sticky.
Yes. And anytime you bring up cuts that people are taking from their digital storefronts, Epic gets pissed.
Right. Yeah. We've talked about that on a previous podcast. I think maybe the cleanest thing to do would be to maybe create a gaming PC and just brand it as an Xbox. Maybe have an Xbox operating system. Phil Spencer talked about how he didn't think that the operating system on these Windows-based gaming PCs or handheld gaming PCs was very good. And he said, that's kind of on us.
Because it's Windows. It's just straight up Windows.
I think that it would be really clever to have an Xbox operating system that could run on these, and maybe that would improve maybe their device if they put out a custom device, but it would also improve the things like the Legion Go, the ROG Ally, like those devices that are Windows based could utilize this as well.
And that's an interesting idea because Valve has said forever that they're going to bring SteamOS and make it available to everybody, and it hasn't happened yet.
If Xbox can beat them to it,
yeah,
maybe you load the devices up and it loads up just like an Xbox, which is what Phil Spencer wants.
Right.
He wants it to load in with a controller. You just like log in and it just like looks like your Xbox, which is probably already a decent sort of UI in terms of being for handheld. If they can do that, then maybe that filters you towards the Xbox store the same way the Steam OS would filter you towards the Steam store.
Yeah, I think it would. And I thought it was interesting some of these things he was saying about like, oh, I want it to boot right in and look like your Xbox. I want your games, I want your achievements, I want your social crap to be right there. That's what he said, social crap. And he said specifically, I want to be able to log in with a controller. And immediately my brain was like, oh, well, Phil must leave these things docked all the time, which is kind of weird for a handheld, but it is a hybrid, so, fair play to you. But I would also like to remind Phil Spencer, in case you're watching, that on your Steam Deck, which I'm sure you have, if it's in sleep mode, you can wake it up with a controller, and it does boot you right into SteamOS, and it does have all your games and your achievements and your friends right there. So
Steam has done it first.
I guess what I'm trying to say is they're behind already. If in the idea of beating Valve to it, maybe they could beat them to the Windows devices.
That's what I'm thinking.
But will the OS be out of the box as mature as SteamOS that's been like updating and evolving for like years now? That's a tall order because it's a really good OS right now.
Yeah, it definitely is a tall order, but I think that Xbox could potentially do it. If they act fast, they could do it. And I think it would be very interesting. Speaking of all this, we have a comment here from Eric who said, Steam Deck is cool, but achievements on Xbox just hit that dopamine button in my head.
Yeah, some people are that way.
Definitely. I mean, we know people, we've run across all kinds of people who, the Xbox achievements are like something that they go after.
Yep.
And they're achievement hunters, and it definitely scratches some dopamine itch for some people. I've never been interested in trophies or achievements. I just don't care about them.
Yeah.
But I know that they are something that a lot of people really like.
Yeah, I mean, our buddy Anthony, AJK, everybody's favorite Aussie, he's in like what was he in? Like the top 10 or 50 or something? Like Xbox gamer scores in Australia?
Yeah. He's up
something
there.
Crazy. I think he cares about these achievements, clearly.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one.
And he plays tons of games to be able to do it. And he maxes them out and gets every achievement. It's awesome.
It is. It's very cool. And now he could do it on the go.
So we have a quote here from Xbox president Sarah Bond, who said, there's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. That is interesting stuff. I think, there's more to this quote,
There
too.
is, yeah.
Who said, and what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you'll have ever seen in a hardware generation.
I wanted to make sure that got in there because I love it when people make bold-ass claims.
They've been saying that. I think they're trying to scare Sony. And
I don't think it's working.
No, I'm not sure that it's working either. But it is interesting. I think it's actually like, I find myself rooting for Xbox because they have become the underdog.
They have.
And I want them to come out with like this amazing, they say they're going to come out with the next gen device. They're going to do it like a year early just to like shake it up.
Really?
Yeah. Like they're going to come out early with it. So they're kind of trying to pull an Xbox 360 where it came out a year before the PS3. And because of that, because the attachment rate was there, they really started off that generation ahead. Ultimately,
that might be what it takes.
Ultimately, the Xbox 360, we always remember that as being like the generation that Xbox won. They did not. Actually, the Xbox 360 sold worse than the PS3 and the Wii. So they came in third place in that generation, but we still remember that as their like golden days.
Because it's what we all had.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I guess we got them early. earlier than the PS3 was there. I guess.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny you say that. It's funny how you look at things through rose-tinted glasses there, but Xbox has really been a third placer for a hot minute, hasn't they?
They have. Well, I mean, not the Wii U. I think the Wii U sold
maybe
worse
not the
than the
Wii U.
Xbox One, but
Listen, everybody is entitled to one misstep,
well,
even Nintendo.
but I do find myself rooting for Xbox. I think it's exciting that they're going to potentially come out with the next generation early. I think it's exciting that they may be going into the handheld market. And I think that it's cool that they're doing different stuff. They're being very customer and, like player oriented, giving them a really good experience, making sure that their saves, making sure their games are cross, buy anywhere. You can play anywhere. You can play on your PC or Xbox, only buy the game once.
Yep. Backwards compatibility.
There's
Quick resume.
There are so many things about Xbox that I really love, and I really want them to be in the game. I want them to be there. I want them to be doing well.
There it is. He said it.
The problem,
Game.
the problem is that they just don't have the software right now.
Yeah, they don't have the software. And we're going to get into that.
We are.
But not until we tell you about our Twitch channel.
Yes.
So this Twitch channel, I'm telling you what, I'm not trying to like speak out of turn here or make bold claims, but it might be the coolest damn place on the internet. And I don't even know what else I need to tell you. I mean, we stream at least 3 nights a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern.
88 p.m.
88 p.m.
We go outside of the normal clock, so you just got to go to the fifth dimension. That's where we're streaming.
Yeah, tell them about the extra streams too.
So we also play a lot on Mondays. We try to get in there sometimes on the random Wednesday, not often, but sometimes. And if we have a Friday or Saturday open, we're there.
Yeah, so we stream a lot.
Yeah. 8 p.m. generally. So come hang out with us.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit more about Xbox. Because, okay, so recently there were some publishers that were questioning the sales of the Xbox, saying that they're not exactly sure why they're supporting the console in the first place. This came out of a report. I don't remember where this report came from. It doesn't look like you have it written down here.
I have it linked.
Oh, you have it linked. This came out of,
Games Industry.
GamesIndustry.biz.
The head, Chris Dring.
Okay, yeah. So he said that he spoke with some developers. Multiple developers are basically questioning why they're supporting Xbox, saying that it hasn't been worth doing. And that, we've also got reports that Xbox Series console sales in Europe have basically flatlined. It's just not selling in Europe at all anymore.
Yep.
We know from the reports that it's not selling at all in Japan. I guess the United States is pretty much the only place where this is maybe selling okay.
Yeah. Those retailers, they're reducing their stock. And they're saying they pretty much only sell on the PS5 and PCs, and I'm sure Switches as well, but their main market is PS5 and PC. And I don't think that comes as any surprise because the PS5's kind of outsold Xbox around 2-1 by the end of last year.
Yes.
So, they're behind.
Not only these, people who are selling Xbox stuff, they're not selling the consoles. They're not even stocking the games anymore. They're pulling
everything.
Yeah. They're like pulling the games off shelves because they're like, what's the point of even having these physical games around? No one's buying them.
Yeah, pretty soon the only thing you're going to be able to buy is a Game Pass gift card.
But the question is, when you hear about this, when you hear about people saying I don't know why we're bothering to support Xbox, you always wonder is there a motive for this? Is it true, or are these people just crapping on Xbox? Because that is a thing that happens.
It is.
So I wanted to do some undercover reconnaissance here.
Yes.
So I wanted to put out a poll that seemed innocent, but was actually looking for a very specific thing.
It was devious, Coyote. It was devious.
So I put out just a poll saying are you interested, or are you considering buying a new gaming console? And I put up the 3 main options you have right now, which is the Switch, the PS5, and the Xbox Series, or no. Just those 3 options or no. And I knew that, out of the people who said yes, I felt that the PS5 would win this.
Yes.
The thing I was really looking for to see was if the Nintendo Switch would get more yeses than the Xbox Series. And if that was the case, if the Switch won, that looks really bad for the Xbox Series because the Switch is way older.
Okay. So drum roll, please, here. At a whopping 14%, people said, yep, I'm going to buy me a PS5. At a whopping 6%, people said, yes, I'm planning on picking up that new shiny Nintendo Switch. And at 4%, people said, yeah, I'm going to buy an Xbox, which means 76% of y'all said no, but that wasn't the point. No. The point is that out of 2.6 thousand votes, Nintendo did come out 2 percentage points ahead of Xbox. Now, is that a significant margin? You be the judge. But it is a margin.
Right. So that means that at least the audience who is like Gaming Gig, and I know that Gaming Gig does skew a little bit Nintendo heavy. Mm-hmm. So, okay, maybe we'll give it that.
Yeah.
But still, that being said, the fact that the Xbox Series was the lowest, lower than the Nintendo Switch, which is, 3-4 years older than the Xbox Series systems.
And quite a bit weaker.
Weaker and doesn't have any games on the horizon. No. Like
they have that in common.
They do have that. They do have that in common, yeah. I mean, the Nintendo Switch has a better back library.
Hundo Cent it does.
But it doesn't have Game Pass.
No, it doesn't have Game Pass. It does have NSO Online and F-Zero 99, which is hot. But, yeah, no, it ain't got Game Pass. So, we got a lot of comments, you know, Randy, that were kind of put into a similar category. As I was reading through these, I was struck by a common sentiment. And this common sentiment is that everybody's got a Switch and. Okay? So, real quick, I'm just going to hit you with some. So, we got Durfer Pula, who said, got a PC and a Switch, that's all I need. We got Gamer Dave, who said, yeah, I'm going to buy a PS5 Pro and a Switch too. So he's a little optimistic. We got James Glover, who said, I got a Switch and a PS5, and I ain't going to upgrade until at least 2 years after the successors. We got Colt saying, already got a PS5, got a Switch. We got Mr. Curiosity, who said, I've already got a PC and a Switch. No point getting anything else. That's a significant trend.
Yes, people saying I've got a Switch and something else. I don't need anything else, whether that be a PC or a PS5. That's generally what people go with. And I have to say, if you're gonna have two things, get yourself a PS5 or PC. Like whatever you really want to do. PS5 is gonna be a lot cheaper, and then have a Switch, and you're gonna be set for like 99.9% of all releases that you probably are gonna care about.
Yeah, you're gonna be sitting pretty. You're gonna be playing games. You're gonna be playing more games than you can play. Let's be honest.
Right.
So. Yeah, get you a Switch and, and you're going to be fine. Now, we did have one little inkling, a whisper in a chorus of boos.
Right.
From D1 Usions of Grandeur, Randy. So hit us with that.
Yeah, D1 is keeping Xbox alive by saying, between my Xbox and PC, I got everything I need for this gen. I would argue that you could get rid of your Xbox and just have your PC and you'd still be okay. But...
Me too, but a little redundancy never killed nobody.
But at the same time, I like my Xbox. I like to have something that I can play on my TV in my living room, But if I had that handheld Xbox hybrid, I would rather have that.
I would. Oh, me too, for sure. I've honestly been considering selling my Series X.
No, you wouldn't.
Why wouldn't I?
Because you always regret doing this. You do this thing where you will get rid of your old consoles, and every single time you regret doing it because you're like, I just want it for the collection.
That is true. That is true.
So you shouldn't do it because you're only going to get like $3 out of it, and then you're not going to have one for your collection.
That is true. Normally I feel that way about handhelds, but you're right. I guess one day I might really need a paperweight.
What if you want to set up like a little like history of gaming shelf, and you have your old consoles, and you're like, I used to have a Series X, but I sold it for $100, and yeah.
You're right. I guess for future Daniel's history of gaming shelf, I'll keep it. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so, we've already talked a little bit about how Phil Spencer, he wants these digital storefronts on Xbox, and he thinks that Gen Z is going to really embrace Xbox if they do that. You know what? Maybe. I think it's cool. Obviously Xbox is floundering a little bit. Some would argue that they're not. I think that it's obvious that they are because they are taking some big swings.
Big swings.
But if they can knock one out of the park here, maybe it's exciting to me.
It is exciting, and I'm telling you, as somebody who works with Gen Z, I just don't know how you predict what they're going to do. Like, are they going to be playing video games? Hell yes, they are. That I can tell you. And like Randy said, like, I'm not rooting against Xbox, but I do feel like this is kind of a shot in the dark to a certain extent, or at least a little bit of a grasp of a justification at bare minimum. Because, Xbox has been making some bold moves. They've been taking their exclusives and making them not exclusive no more. You know what I'm saying? And now they're saying, well, we're doing this because the research shows it's better.
Well,
maybe there's a grain of truth to that. You know?
And essentially, he's arguing here, and you put a quote in that I think you should go ahead and read.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell us with this one here.
Okay, so this is kind of in reference to bringing those digital storefronts in, the Gen Z thing. And Spencer says he wanted to explain that the current model of selling consoles at a loss and regaining the money through game sales is becoming less effective.
Yeah. And when you told me that earlier, when we first off camera, when you were like, can you believe he said this? I'm like, well, I mean, he's right, only because he doesn't have software to sell. Like, and they're going all in on Game Pass, and Game Pass probably doesn't have the same margins as selling a game does.
Probably not. And maybe if he had some more of those games, he wouldn't be saying quotes like this.
Right. But at the same time, I do think that there is something sort of altruistic about this, where it really is kind of nice.
Altruistic?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know what that means, but like,
what if they don't? Dictionary?
What if the viewers don't, Randy? Like, don't try to talk over. I mean, you're not talking over my head. Like, I know.
Well, then, yeah.
But like,
well, this is something just for the good, for the overall good, just because it's good.
Right. Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
You think Xbox is doing that?
I think that there is a degree of like, they really need to win customers. And so they're going to do anything that they can to get customers on their side. And I think in a way, if they keep doing this, I do think that there is a chance that it might work. Like, they're doing these things, like they are putting their games on other consoles so that people can play them. That feels cool to me. Like, that makes me like Xbox more. The fact that they're like, hey, look, you can play Sea of Thieves on PlayStation now. Like, I think that is really cool.
I also think that's cool, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit that some of the reason I think that's cool is because I get to use my PlayStation now to play that game. Like, to me, that's just like, it's like, one step forward and two steps back, or maybe the alter, maybe it's two forward and one back. I don't know, but I just don't know that it's holistically forward progress. At least not quick forward progress. And they might need some quick forward progress.
They do. But I do think that they are making... It's interesting because I would almost rather them go whole hog and just say, you know what? Screw it. We're no longer have exclusives. Everything's going multi-platform. And that's just how we do things around here. We're not worried about, winning the console wars. That's old news. We're done with it.
Yeah.
Our new thing is to give you the best gaming experience that you can possibly imagine. Everything you want is here because this is just going to be a Windows device now that has an Xbox operating system. All our games are everywhere. We don't care. Come to here if you want to play games and if you don't want to worry about the drama of console wars.
And that's a good narrative. I like that. I do. I think that would be a cool brand identity, for Xbox to have. The only thing I keep coming back to, there's a missing puzzle piece, and that is games.
Yeah, but if they don't, what I'm saying is if they say, like, look, we don't care about having the games, we care about just having a platform where you can play games.
So they're not even going to make games anymore.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if they do, they're not worried about keeping them exclusive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do. And I do see, but everybody doesn't feel that way. PlayStation doesn't feel that way. PlayStation isn't saying, well, screw it. You can play.
They kind of are, though. In a way, they're leaning that direction.
Well, they're not coming to Xbox.
No, but they're coming to PC, which is a Windows device, and Xbox is a Windows device.
Yeah. But you can't play The Last of Us on your Xbox, and you're not going to be able to play it on your new Xbox handheld.
You could if it's
Unless it
if
had
it's
Steam
what if it's just a Windows device that's labeled Xbox? Like they just say, well, look, we give up on having the closed, the walled garden. They give up on the walled garden.
But that's not. But Spencer said he wants some of that. He said he likes that those.
He wants the operating system. He wants it to feel like an Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is more OS than it is actually being tied to a specific console.
Yeah, but it's a console specific OS.
Right now it is.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is what's the motivation for somebody to say like to take all those things you just said, which is like Xbox is cool. They're letting you play your games anywhere, a varied experience. All that's good. Everybody would say that's good.
Yeah.
But what's the motivation for them to be like, you know what, I'll buy that instead of the PlayStation? Like what's the draw? Because you could play those games there anyway, I guess is what I'm saying, if they're going to be non-exclusive.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd say that it all comes down to convenience. If there's like
Yeah.
multiple access points for your games, where the PlayStation right now is very limited in terms of like how you can access your games. You have to be at your TV with your PS5. Like that's how you access your games. And if Xbox goes this way, it's going to be about convenience. You're going to have your games on your phone, on your computer, on your Xbox, on your handheld Xbox. It's going to be like literally you can even play your games on the PS5 or you can play them anywhere.
Okay, and I do see that because I've gotten really back into Helldivers here in the past few days, and I wish to heck I could play Helldivers anywhere except at my desk, which is where my PlayStation 5 resides.
Right.
I've even considered moving into the living room just to play Helldivers from the couch, but then I know I'm going to have to move it back in here to stream, so I just don't do it, Right. And I have the Portal. I've got the Steam Deck. I can remote play. But there's just a little bit of input latency, and it's just not good enough to play Helldivers to me.
Right.
And so, yeah, I do see that. That just goes back to me really wishing Sony had given us a handheld that could play some things natively. But, if Xbox did that, that's a win.
Right. And my thought is Xbox has tried to keep up with the Joneses in terms of like doing what Nintendo does, what Sony does with the PlayStation. They've tried to copy it and it doesn't work for them. So they've got to change. So they've tried this with the Game Pass, which is already everywhere. They can, if they just start to branch out, like maybe it will work for them. Mm-hmm. It may not, and they may fail, but they're failing right now. So why not try?
Oh, I agree. Like I know Randy's kind of taken the 4 Xbox, and I've kind of been playing devil's advocate, but I'm not against Xbox. And honestly, they put out a handheld and it looks good. You know where that thing's going to end up.
Right.
It's going to end up in this office.
Exactly.
So, I mean, would you be interested in picking one up?
It all depends on what it is. If it is a Windows device that is similar to like, say, the, Legion Go or something like that. If it is like that, but it is cheaper. And that's where I think it's going to come in. Like if for some reason Xbox can sell their at a loss because they know that they're like making big investments into this, which we know like Xbox is willing to make huge investments on a gamble. If they're able to do that and it comes in $300-$400 but is equivalent, I'm telling you, if they can do that, they ain't gonna do it.
They ain't gonna
but
do
if
that.
they do it,
5 maybe. 5
if
to
they
6
do
maybe.
it, man, if they can come in and make it cheap somehow, just some way, make it cheap, I think that they would have a really winning, like, possible scenario for them.
You know what that device would be if it's $300? It'd be a cloud device.
No, because we've already seen PlayStation put out a cloud device for $200.
I'm just saying, you ain't gonna get one that can play these new Xbox games natively for $300. No way.
I'm not saying. I'm thinking next gen. I'm thinking this is a last gen device that's coming out next gen that is a lower powered device.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome. That would be such a great price point. And I hear what you're saying because I've always been a Steam Deck guy, but I see these Windows handhelds, and I'm always like, I wonder if it's better. I wonder if it's better. Most people say that the software holds it back enough to not be, but if Xbox fixed that and made the software a little more console-like before Valve does, that's a huge win. And if it really is a Windows device, meaning it's open enough to play these Epic games, Steam games, GOG, all that stuff, if it can do that, That's awesome. And that might be the Windows device that I would take a chance on.
Yes, because it's got that Xbox brand name that you've known, and you also know that when you buy an Xbox game, it is play anywhere.
Yep, true.
And it just like the recipe for success, I think, is potentially there. They just need to throw it in the oven, bake it, and see what happens.
Well, I hope they're already baking it because I'm kind of excited now.
I am too. I think it's exciting. I really do.
And Randy, you can get an Asus ROG Ally for like $400 right now.
Can I?
Yeah.
Like refurbished or something?
No, I think they're just on sale because I think Asus is going to release a revision like next year, this year, something like that. So I think they're on sale. You can find like one of the variants on sale. Anyway, just throw that out there since you quoted that price.
Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to our talking about Jim Ryan and what he had to say this week about the PS5. But first,
not yet. We're not.
Not first. First, we're going to tell you guys about our Discord server. So, I found out this week that one of the rules of the internet is that everything has a Discord server. I didn't know that was a rule, but it does hold true so far. And believe it or not, Gaming Gig has a Discord server.
Yeah, we do. And you can find a join link in the description of this video. It's a super cool place. It's been kind of popping off lately. We've been talking Helldivers, been talking Sea of Thieves, talking about Twitch, doing all sorts of crap over there. And people are so nice. So just join up, jump in. Nobody's going to be rude to you. It's a real cool place.
Yep, we love to see you there. And like Daniel said, there is a link to the join or the invite link or whatever it is in the description of this podcast.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
All right, so our final topic here, before we move on to our final segment, which I don't consider a topic, is that Jim Ryan, he did this interview, and he said some things and some stuff, Randy. He said some big things and some big stuff. And, Jim Ryan's on his way out.
He is.
But, they asked him, like, hey, what do you remember from the PS2 era? Like, what sticks out to you? And he was like, I'll tell you since you asked. And he got all misty-eyed and he looked off into the distance. And for about 30 minutes, they said all he did was sit there muttering, 160 million, 160 million, 160 million. And then eventually he snapped out of it and they finished the interview. But apparently he's saying that the PS2 sold 160 million. And Randy, that's weird.
Yeah, that's weird because forever we have known the number to be 155 million. And if you care about this kind of stuff, which some people do and some people don't, I'm personally slightly invested in this because I really want my favorite console of all time, which is the Nintendo Switch. I want it to become the best-selling console of all time. And, it's on track to potentially, the numbers are looking good. It may pass the PS2 at 155.
Yeah, and we're rooting for it.
The numbers don't look as good if you know that it's got to sell an extra 5 million in 160. So the question is, was he just rounding up, or was he leaking on his way out? He's like, oh, by the way, we sold 5 million more than we told you about.
And can he do that?
Can he just say that on a podcast and be like, yep? Because
I don't think you can, because you got to report. They report these sales.
They do,
and I don't think Jim Ryan can just say this on his way out and be like, screw you, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo, no, you don't.
Yeah, this is.
I really worked hard on that pun and I fumbled it.
Oh, it's okay. I know you practiced that in front of the mirror for hours earlier.
Why you gotta? Why
I gotta call you out like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just walked in and that's what you were doing, and I was like, "What the heck are you doing, Daniel?" And the fact that you fumbled it makes me so sad.
Move on.
So, this it almost feels malicious in
petty.
A way. It feels petty, doesn't it?
Feels a little Richard Petty.
It's like...
Little Petty Roosevelt.
My guess is that he was just rounding. Or maybe he just wants to cause a little stink on his way out. Let a little toot as he's walking out the door,
Let a little toot and then Jim Ryan's gone like a fart in the wind.
Like he's just crop dusting on his way out. I don't know.
I just think he is wrong. I just think he got lost in the sauce. Mm-hmm. He got, he looked at it through these rose-tinted glasses, and nostalgia's a hell of a drug, Randy. And I think he just misquoted.
You think he just misquoted?
He rounded up.
I think he rounded up.
I think he innocently rounded up. I don't think a big company CEO would do anything like this. that would cast shade on another company on their way out. I just don't believe it.
I don't know. I mean, like, there's been so much love for the Nintendo Switch. And I think that a lot of people are like me and probably like you, are rooting for the Switch to take that number one spot.
Yeah.
It's in the fact that Nintendo, they report their numbers down to like very small. Like we know like the DS sold like, it didn't hit 155. It sold like 154.1. And it's like, oh, so close, but it just couldn't do it. Like the DS is number 2 right now.
Yeah.
So it just feels really weird to me that he'd be like, yep, 160 million. Keep trying, Nintendo. At least that's how it feels to me. Of course, it's probably not that. In reality, it probably isn't that.
I think we are projecting. And, you know, we love the PS2 too. Like,
oh, yeah.
When we were kids, everybody had a PS2 and we all loved them. Like, you didn't even have to ask. Like, you're going over to somebody's house, you just know, bring you a couple PS2 games and bring a controller.
Yep.
You know, we love the PS2, so don't make us project shade, Jim Ryan. Just exit gracefully.
No. It honestly, it probably was innocent. It probably was just him rounding up, or maybe the numbers are 160 million. I don't know. But this is completely unofficial. And, you know, like I said, I love the PS2. At one point, it probably would have been my favorite console of all time. You know, like I loved the era of gaming and I loved playing on my PS2.
It was awesome.
So
it was a great time to be a gamer. Great time to be a kid.
It really was.
But, you know, Jim Ryan, he didn't stop there with his big stuff and big things.
Yeah.
He went on to make a very vague statement that the PS5 is on track to be Sony's most successful console.
Yeah, he said that like we're on the top of our game right now. Like this is going to be the most successful console ever. That makes me think the dude really was, like I said at the beginning of the episode, he's just spouting some skibbity, man.
Yeah, because like what does that even mean? Because it's not necessarily on pace to be the highest selling. If it was, it would have to maintain, you know, its current clip for a long time to do it.
And I think we know that the PS4 is currently if you align when they launch, like I think the PS4 has sold more than the PS5. If you did that, if you align them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And the PS4 hasn't, you know, it didn't beat the PS2.
Right. So, you know, is he talking about some sort of other metrics? You know, is he talking about...
It's very weird to me.
Is he talking about like player retention or amount of Netflix consumed on the device or amount of times charging the controller?
Definitely that.
You know,
100% that.
I don't know. I don't have any idea what he meant.
Especially when like we're in such a, I'd say one of the, you know, like very bad times for PlayStation, because they announced recently that they have 0 like existing games coming out like within the next year. Then like between the next March, like no returning games are going to come back and have big games within the next year. That's bad.
I mean,
new IPs are always exciting though.
Yeah, it does open the door, you know, for something new to catch some headlines, and that I think is cool. But it does not necessarily support the claim that they are in the middle of their most successful console ever.
Right, like what is going to make people want to buy PS5s in droves over the next year? I just don't see it happening.
I don't either. I think people will continue to buy them. No problem. But
because the PS5 there are great reasons to buy it.
Absolutely.
Mostly because of the PS4 library, which is backwards compatible with the PS5, honestly.
Yeah.
That's really, because if you're looking for a system that has a great library of games to play, the PS5 is an excellent choice because it is backwards compatible with the PS4, which had so many great games.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, we are getting these, like, PS5 exclusives, and they're good.
What PS5 exclusives are we getting?
Well, we got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Okay. That's also on PC.
Was Rebirth a PS4? Was that a cross-gen thing?
Rebirth was PS5 only.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's the one I was actually thinking of. But when you said that, you scared me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But Rebirth is what I was thinking of.
I'm thinking
Rebirth
first,
awesome.
but I'm thinking first party console exclusives. Where Rebirth will eventually go to PC. It will eventually, heck, it could even go to Xbox. I mean, it could go anywhere.
It could.
It could.
It would definitely will go to PC though. That's going to happen.
Yeah, and it probably will happen sooner rather than later. I think the exclusive, like the thing is, we said this about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like we were like, oh, it and it eventually did come to PC, right? But it took longer than I think we expected it to. So
Yeah, it
who
took
knows?
a while. It took a while. I don't know what he's talking about. I just thought it was interesting. I wish Jim Ryan nothing but the best. Have fun with your retirement, and I hope you enjoy playing your Switch.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
I would love to see a picture of Jim Ryan playing a Switch.
Yeah, no, he's playing a Switch, but then in his back pocket is a Switch Lite. Like he's got two of them. You know?
Yeah, could you keep that thing on him?
Yeah, he keeps it on him.
Or better yet, he's got a portal in his hands. But when you pan the picture around, you see that he's actually got a Switch laying on top of the portal.
Right.
Like when you hide your comic book inside your
math book.
Math book, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can somebody please Photoshop that for me? Can anybody please create a picture of Jim Ryan playing a Switch hidden behind a portal?
That would be hilarious. Oh, goodness. And he's got to have his Switch Lite tucked in his back pocket, too.
Yep.
He's got two of them. One in each back pocket, yeah.
What colors?
Oh, he's got that nice dark blue one. I always wanted that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about another? I think the other one would be like a Pokemon limited edition, you know?
Oh, yeah. I forgot that they had those. I forgot that existed.
You know Jim Ryan's going to spring for that exclusive.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
He's got that Ratchet and Clank money.
He does. All right, guys. I think it's time for the last segment of the podcast, which is our 3 for Dale Club. So, actually, before we do that, I want to tell you guys about something that we are doing. If you hung out with us this entire time, look, first of all, we love you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We're going to be doing something a little different today, and we're going to start doing this thing, and it is for YouTube members. Now, currently, we do not have any YouTube members, but
that's going to change.
Here's what we want to do. We want to have a bonus episode, a weekly bonus episode that is exclusive to YouTube members. So what we're going to do is after we finish the main podcast, we're just going to have a bonus episode that you can access, but it's only for YouTube members. So if you really do want to, support the podcast in some small way and get a bonus episode, we want to offer that for you.
Yep. We're going to record that literally today.
So, like I said, that's just for YouTube members. And thank you if you decide to support us and you want to check it out. If you don't, that's totally fine too. The regular podcast isn't changing. We're not going to do anything different with it. It's just going to be something extra.
Yep. Maybe we're a little bonus episode might be a little more silly, might be a little looser, maybe a little less structured, but it's going to be the same gaming gig content you've come to know and love.
Yeah, in fact, I want it to be a little more off the cuff and a little more a little more not as
a little more
structured.
raw.
A little more raw.
Yeah. Like a Saturday night stream.
So that is available now, and I'll make sure that if you're interested in becoming a YouTube member, that it's available for you to do. We have the ability to do that. It just needs to be set up, and it will be set up by the time this podcast goes live.
We have the technology. We can build it. But before we do, we're going to do our final segment today, which is the 3 for Dale Club. Now, if you don't know about 3 for Dale Club, it's our exclusive club where you join by watching the entire episode, and we would love to shout you out. All you got to do is leave us a comment and say whatever the heck you want to say. If you want to tell Randy his hat's bad, tell him. It makes him cry, but tell him anyway. Just make sure you include the phrase 3 for Dale.
That's right. We look for that secret code phrase. We find everyone who puts in their comment and we shout you out. And this week we're starting out with D18, who said 3 for Dale. Have a fantastic week, G&G fellas. Look, Daniel's got his old Dale hat on as we speak.
That's right. 6 Winston Cups, baby. Yep. Thank you, D18. Omaha to you. Next up, we got Bombs Away, who said, good episode, and I'm enjoying the 60 to 75 minute long podcast, 3 for Dale. Well, I got news for you, Bombs Away. Now you can get even more if you become a YouTube member.
That's right. I don't know how long we don't set out to make the episodes a certain length.
No.
We just talk until we're done talking.
Yeah.
So,
which for Randy's a long time.
I have no clue. We're currently at, we're not there yet.
Where are we at?
We're, it's looking like, I have no clue. We're almost at an hour, but we started that recording before we started recording. So I don't know. We're going to be there by the time the 3 for Dale Club's over, though. I know that.
It's going to be fun. I'm not number hunting here, Randy.
I'm just saying, we really haven't been setting out to do a certain thing, but it's just kind of what's happened. Now that we're covering more topics.
Yes.
Next we got Landon Stallings, long time member of the 3 for Dale Club, who said that hat throw at the end was God tier, and I'm loving the new podcast layout and the longer videos. Thank you, Landon. I mean, and he said, my friends and I have been getting back into Game Pass recently, and I've already decided to return to Sea of Thieves. That is awesome.
Congrats. Welcome back to the Seas. Thank you for the props on the hat throw, and we appreciate you.
Daniel might try to reattempt that.
Daniel's not going to try. Do or do not. There is no try. Master Yoda taught us that. Next up, we got Tom Derry, who said, wait, was that 3 Dale comments in the 3 for Dale segment? Coincidence? No.
Oh my gosh. Tom is putting on his tinfoil hat.
He is. I hope it's a tinfoil Dale hat.
Ooh, yeah. I know there's one thing I know, and it's that Dale, he does have his hands. He is like the puppet master of the podcast. He has his hands in what we're doing. He's doing this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Was that weird? Say he's got his hands in what we do?
Yeah.
He's the puppet master. He's pulling the strings.
Tell us about Kit.
Okay. I didn't think it was that weird, but apparently that was weird. Kit says, can't wait to crouch spam in Sea of Thieves. Love the new podcast format, and most importantly, 3 for Dale.
Thank you, Kit. I also am excited to crouch spam.
AKA
the victory squat. Okay.
Sure.
That's what we call it. That's what we call it at the esports team that I coach. We call it the victory squat.
It is teabagging. We all know it's teabagging, not victory squat.
It's a victory squat. Okay. Spread the term. That term deserves to be internet wide.
Spread the victory squat.
Hell yeah! Spread the victory squat.
Okay. I think it's time for you to move on because I think you're getting out of hand here with the victory squat.
Next up, we got Laninator, who's referencing our Dragon's Dogma 2 conversation from last week and says, Capcom, I know you're better than this. Be better. Hashtag 3 for Dale.
Talking about those microtransactions.
Yeah.
Which, like I said last week, I think it was a little, maybe exaggerated because these microtransactions were purely like optional and you do not have to have them. In fact, some of them were kind of dumb to buy, but like they're still there, which I think is kind of gross anyway.
Yeah. I think it's slightly predatory, and I think it's annoying at least.
I don't know that it's predatory as much as it's like they're kind of like just taking advantage of the people who are willing to buy it. Maybe that is predatory.
I think that is predatory.
I would say it's more like, I don't know, it's just kind of gross because it's like they know very few people will buy them, but the people who will buy them will buy all of them.
Right.
Like they're looking for that whale market.
Exactly.
They're wanting people who are going to go in there and just buy everything on top of a $70 game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is the fact that it's $70 single player game and then it has all these. Sure, they're optional, and you don't have to have them. In fact, some of them, like most of them, are completely like almost useless in a lot of ways. Still, I don't know.
It don't sit well with me. And Capcom, if you're going to continue to be Cap God, you do need to do better.
All right. So, well, that brings us to the end. And remember, if you want more Gaming Gig, if you want to become a YouTube member, first of all, thank you if you do.
Thank you.
And then
I don't know what's wrong with you, but thank you.
Yeah. We'll have a bonus episode for you, our very first ever bonus episode. And like I said, exclusive for YouTube members.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm Randy.
Which makes me Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Go Braves.